People say that there's a very thin line between love and hate, good and evil, right and wrong. There may be a thin line, but we can call it the everyday decision point. So if we look at it this way, this can help us define our inner coordinates for our inner guidance system. That helps us move towards self-empowerment. There's a story about a pious Tibetan monk that when he died, his brothers, according to their tradition, prayed for him with meditation and used crystal balls for 21 days to make sure that he made his journey and stayed within the proximity of the monastery, and then also was able to be on his spiritual path. Well, somewhere along the way, the brothers became rather concerned because they saw that the monk had got himself stuck under a rock. So they communicated with him and they said, "How come you're stuck under a rock?" And he said, "I don't know." They said, "Well, you better find out. Otherwise, that's going to be your purgatory." So, a little stimulus got him to looking and seeing, and they reconnected with him in their communication. They said, "Okay." He said, "The only thing that comes up is a memory of one time when I was in the kitchen and I was fixing food. I saw a cockroach, and according to their tradition, they can take no life. So this was an unresolved action, a wrongdoing, that he had to address in order to continue on." So we look at this and we see this story perhaps could tell us a lot about our perceptions of our own wrongdoings. Who knows better about our wrongdoings? We, our higher selves, accessed within, or the social conditioning systems called the matrix. I think all of us are familiar with the concept of falling from grace, but that usually has to do with falling from grace to an outside God or the sky gods, to which we no longer are giving our power over to. So this falling from grace really is an internal affair. You see, the fact of the matter is, when we fall from our own grace, the results can be devastating. Because what happens is, we find that we get sick inside, but we get sick of ourselves. And when this happens, it can just explode into all kinds of manifestations. So, let's look at this. We're talking about a fall. When we fall from our own grace, we find that we are in a definite disadvantaged position. But it is one that is easily rectified by first recognizing that we do have an internal guidance system. And it's one that works and works oh so well, as long as we pay attention to it and follow the guidance of it. So it's much like you get to a place of seeing that, whereas you used to say, "I won't go there anymore," you change that to, "I'm not going to do that to myself again." And then it becomes a lot more manageable because we recognize it on a personal level as something that we have done, a wrongdoing, that is an affront to ourselves. When we can address then this this then allows us to move in life with more grace and more ease. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about not acknowledging that we learn by doing, because that's part of what this experience is all about, is learning by doing. We're not talking about taking away the right to make mistakes. We have the right. And a mistake is simply an opportunity to get it better the next time. So when we, in ourselves, experience what we're doing, and we make that move to, I can't do this to myself, it then is accompanied with a feeling. A feeling that you might could say is the soul's default. We come to a place of recognizing that we have within us this that is so clear, so giving to us, of us, about us, that resonates as a genuine feeling. And you know, our decisions are made moment by moment. We may call them agreements. But if we look, we see that these decisions that we make moment by moment are ones that if we begin to ask ourselves, how does it feel? How do we feel? Then we're really taking that step, moving forward, so that we actually are tuning in to us instead of giving our power away to outside sources who tell us what's right and wrong. Because, let's use two words to show the distinction here. Everybody's heard of morals? And everybody's heard of ethics. That's been degraded, but if we look, we see that morals really come from the matrix. We find that these external directives of the matrix, they're so pervasive. My God, they're everywhere. They're in every culture, they're in every religion, they're in every government, they're in every corporation, every business, every family. But if you have a look of where we are and where we're moving, we're seeing that that is very much involved in ego solutions, where ego looks to the outside programming it has received to get the input of what choices we should make. And we're getting to the place where we're realizing those solutions are not really solutions at all. So we're getting to a place of recognizing, here we are, we're involved in this evolutionary experience of learning by doing. And we're learning to do it by ethics. All right, now, ethics, to get a better understanding, this is making reference to those encoded awareness that we have in ourselves that gives us the surety of what we're doing as to how it feels. If we're in harmony with ourselves, we get that feeling of confirmation. This feels good. And when we are doing things that are not in harmony with ourselves, we get a feeling again that's a confirmation that we're out of harmony with ourselves. So many people come and they are perplexed with problems. And their problems all stem from the fact that they're not in harmony with themselves. But to come to the place of being able to sift through all of the input that's coming from outside sources, that's coming from our ego, and that's also coming from our higher self, requires a definite redirecting of our energies so that we can see who we are in all of this, and then come to a place of realizing that thin line sometimes can be blurred, but as long as we are willing to return to it, it gives us the opportunity to make the adjustments we need to make and stop doing the things that are causing us dismay, that are causing us heartache. Now, touching upon heart, how does it feel? These little decisions that you make. How does it feel, these agreements that you're engaging in moment by moment in your life. You see, what we choose defines us. It defines us to ourselves. It defines us in ourselves. How we are either in or out of harmony with ourselves. If there is a continuation in this fall from our own internal grace, we find it that our heart seems to grow colder. We seem to become duller to the input that would come from our higher self. As a matter of fact, we could see it in today's world as well as in history. That there are human beings who are discarding their inborn blueprint, who are becoming deaf to their inner voice and making a mockery of ethics, and even rewriting the morals of the matrix to accommodate a dissent. Basically, that's the programming of the matrix. From womb to tomb, how low will you go? You see, when we have tried to block out our internal guidance, we find that we suffer. And our suffering is a sure indication that we're not in harmony with who we truly are. You can do all the justifying you want, and there's a lot of energy spent in justification. When the fact of the matter is, how does it feel? How does it feel, the life you're living? How do you feel with you when there's no one else around and there's no distraction? You can't jump out and mow the lawn because it's midnight. You have drunk so much that your body just can't handle it anymore, so that's not a solution. You've done all the different things that you could do, and you're still feeling pain. How does it feel? It feels the way it's meant to feel to get your attention so that you can make the change and get back to a place of harmony in yourself, with yourself. So, religion, I would say for the most part where we are today with religions, world religions, they're really serving the matrix. To a large extent, we're seeing that good morals and right and wrong messages, they're very much tied up in religious dictates. They're also very much tied up in economics. And they're also very much tied up in herd programming. As we watch the layers upon layers of lies peeling off the false reality we believed in, the more we begin to separate ourselves from herd consciousness. This can be very challenging, especially because the further you get removed away from that, the more and more fear builds up inside of you because you're afraid to face yourself. But again, it is for us to move in this way to begin to see. It's our choice. And we are defined by our own choosing. If you open yourself up to this and begin to realize it is timely for you to hear, I mean, after all, you're here. You're here. You're the one who has receptivity to this. We look and we see that this is a way of confronting the matrix, but by not confronting it. We actually strengthen each other. We encourage each other. For every moment that inner listening, inner knowing is listened to, the inner coordinates become stronger. A person with a really good heart connection will have a very strong default setting. And it's important to remember that these default settings of the heart won't be one size fits all. So whatever is really true for me isn't necessarily going to register the same way for you. But that you are listening to your heart and you are in harmony with your heart is going to be something that is recognized and allowed. You see, one of the things about this is that the self-empowered person really has no need to be right or seen as being right. Self, in this respect, does not exclude. It allows. It is open and receptive to realizing that actually where we are is in what you might could say a final walk. That we are engaged in moving away from the influence of the matrix. That we are actually doing this for ourselves. And it is one from which we no longer can stray. This is about me being in harmony with me. And you being in harmony with you. And if there are shifts and adjustments that you need to engage in, I need to engage in, that we actually do it. Because from another perspective, we look and we see this as the outer guidance system, it's dissolving. And the inner guidance system is up and running. And the GPS, it's transcendent. So, how does it feel? As long as you haven't completely shut down on yourself, you have a pretty good idea. And the feelings you get about what you're doing are your internal guidance system confirming to you how in harmony you are with yourself. So, the next time you're rolling one and you're just about to fire up, instead of asking Bill what would be the best choice to make, you ask yourself where you are and what's going on. How does it feel? And if it feels good, inhale deeply. And if it doesn't, let it go. Thank you. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.
selves.org/donate.